Welcome back to the Real with Joseph Lapman. I am Joseph Lapp. Hope you guys having a great Monday afternoon after post Easter. Hope you guys had a great Easter and a happy Easter again to all you guys. Hope you had a great weekend with your family and your friends celebrating the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So, round of applause out the bat just for that, just for Easter. But welcome into the Real. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're gonna get into it today. Obviously, the main topic we got the Browns. Mike and I are going to get to that here in a minute. In the middle of the show, Hummel's going to join us, so we're going to talk about the Cavs a little bit. We're going to try to get to the Cavs, but mainly going to be talking about LeBron James and this whole Memphis thing and the comments he made on the podcast, on the golf podcast. So we're going to get to that here in a minute. Once we talk about the Browns, he also made some follow up comments at his shoot around when he was asked about it, all the backlash he's taken for it. And he made some comments about he said he doesn't even like coming home to Cleveland or Akron? What was he talking about? So we're going to break it down and what does it all mean. And then the back end of the show, the last part of the show, we're going to do a real life discussion like we always do. Hummel's going to lead that off. He's got a good one today. Mike's going to join us for that as well. So you'll get all three of our opinions on it. I think that's going to be excellent. And it'll be probably our favorite part of the show, like always. But we'll get right into it, though. To start with the Browns, Mike and I will get to it. Obviously, Mike's had taken TPF's taking a little bit of a break, but he's back today. He's making his return. And he's going to be coming in all month with draft coverage for you guys as we are a little less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. The NFL draft's the 23rd. So, 2 weeks this Thursday, we're right there. It's going to be right around the corner. It came on fast this year. It feels like faster than previous years. So, some interesting news today, though, from Zach Jackson talking about the Browns plans. He put out an article today with The Athletic post the owners' meetings, and there's a lot of different rumors right now with the Browns. And I've heard obviously talking about the number 6 pick, what they have. What are they going to trade back? Right? Are they going to trade back? Are they going to take somebody at 6? Will they take a tackle? Will they take a receiver? Are they going to take the best player available, Caleb Downs? What are they going to do at 6? And so that's been a lot of it. But also, what are they thinking in terms of trading down? Are they trying to get a first round pick for next year's draft? Because yes, we have Shedeur Sanders on the roster. They're giving Deshaun Watson a shot, but there's always been a lot of buzz with Jimmy Haslam, obviously, and we all know who Arch Manning. Now, Arch Manning, last year he finished the season, I thought, a lot better than he started. Right now, he's still not number 1 overall pick. He's got to have a great year next year to really prove that and show that. But I think the kid will play well. But you're also hoping, if you're the Browns, why not have one of these guys, especially, let's say, Shedeur, who's on a rookie deal, just be the guy going forward. Obviously, has different coach this year with Todd Monken, different offensive staff, different supporting cast. You're hoping a better O-line, better receiving core, healthy Quinchon. You got Harold Fannin Jr., right? The defense keeps rolling. Maybe Shedeur can flourish into that guy. You can just move forward with him. So then next year, you don't got to worry about it. But in a scenario where maybe they don't believe in Shedeur, or Shedeur's not in their future plans, could they try to trade down and get an insurance policy for next year to get an additional first like they did last year, or maybe even a high second, so they can have more ammunition for next year's draft if they really want to go get Arch or Dante Moore or whoever they want to target. And so, that's why I put in the thing. Is it Operation 2027? And I thought Zach Jackson pointed out, I can't wait to hear Mike's thoughts on this. Zach Jackson's article today I thought was really interesting because he put out, so let's get to it. So he started with Shedeur this season and how Shedeur should be the starter first. First up, he obviously, it says right here, I know the folks atop the Browns' organization publicly praised Deshaun Watson. I wholeheartedly believe there's an excitement for Watson getting healthy and trying to come back from his injuries and previous failures in Cleveland. But I feel stronger than ever that that Sanders, not Watson, is the favorite to win the starting job. Sanders is 24 and signed for 3 more seasons. He was never the team's plan A last season and might not be plan A for the future. But giving Sanders every chance to win the job and make real progress is clearly the best option right now. So obviously last week there was a lot of praise about Deshaun Watson for coming from the owner. I don't want to say praise. Well, he said praise. I would say more of just, maybe, yeah, I guess somewhat praise. I think they were kind of lauding him up publicly, trying to give him some, put some excitement around his name again. Like he's coming back, blah, blah, blah. He could be the starter, X, Y, and Z. But I think I said last week, I think a lot of that was more them trying to hopefully, every year around, first week of preseason, second week of preseason, mid preseason, coming out of camp. There's always teams that have injuries of quarterbacks or need a quarterback. He has 1 year left on his deal. I think the Browns are trying to prop him up a little bit. I said this last week. It's somebody who knows Todd Monken very well. I'll say that. Still talks to him frequently. They coach together in Cleveland. Told me that he believes that they're just trying to get, Watson up to par, have him maybe start the first preseason game. Maybe he looks good and serviceable, right? Maybe he has 2 weeks in a row of preseason. He looks good and serviceable. Maybe they can get somebody to bite on a trade. I could totally see that. I think there is a team out there that will definitely try to give him a flyer if he's healthy, just to see one last shot. Why not? Like if you're Arizona, what do you have? You have nobody right now. You're not getting Fernando Mendoza unless they take Ty Simpson. You're not taking him in the top 10. You only have one first round pick, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe a team like Arizona takes a flyer on him for 1 year. Just to see let's see what he's got. I don't know. I think there's a team out there that may bite on that. It's only a 1 year deal. So, and if you're the Browns, that's good for you because you get off the books finally. You still got to pay him some money in the future, but at least you get him out and you move on. And now you go find your next, you really go find your true starting quarterback. And you give Shador, like he mentioned there, basically a full year to show what he can do. So that's the first part he wrote in the article I thought was interesting. But then the second part that I thought was interesting was talk about Myles Garrett's future. Obviously, last week, I didn't even react to this. Actually, I forgot to mention this. I didn't react to the Myles Garrett news because it wasn't news to me. They're not trading Myles Garrett. They can't trade Myles Garrett. I don't think they want to trade Myles Garrett. I don't think they should trade Myles Garrett. And he believes that as well. He goes, Myles Garrett's future goes, I don't believe the Browns want to trade Garrett this year or any year, really. But the only explanation for the recent contract modification is that the Browns have sort of cleared a runway for a trade in the unlikely event that they feel it's necessary and can get proper value in return. Garrett, at 30, is clearly the NFL's most dominant defensive player. After June 1st, teams that believe they have the right quarterback in the right window to go for it may prepare to make a Godfather-like offer for Garrett. The Browns should then be prepared to ask for even more. And so what he's saying is, obviously, at the end there, teams are going to try to throw their kitchen sink offer if they feel like they're in a window to go win. They're Myles Garrett away, but the Browns really should ask for more. And I think but the Browns should want more than that. And I think they should ask for more because there's no trade out there right now that's going to give you equal value to Myles Garrett. You're not. Myles Garrett, arguably, might be the most talented pass rusher of all time. I'm not saying he's the best of all time. He might be the most talented of all time. He's just that freakishly gifted and he's that much of a dude. You don't just give you draft him in the organization. He just broke the single season sack record. You don't just trade that guy away like that. I think the Browns should try to figure it out around Myles Garrett. You have Myles Garrett. I think you're only about a year or two away if you can get your offense situated to find the quarterback to being back in a window where you can, slowly get back to where you were post 2018, where you had a little momentum. You feel like you had a quarterback, maybe post 2020 after this, the playoff run. You can get back to that, maybe even better. I think it just all depends on this offseason. And so, I think Myles Garrett, to me, he's not getting traded this offseason. Maybe next year we can have this conversation if stuff goes south again and maybe he wants out. But at 30 years old, he got his money. He just broke the single season sack record, defensive player of the year. I think they're just fine. Once they get that guy in there at QB, maybe it's Shador this year, or if they have a plan for next year, I think the Browns need to just get it right around Myles and maximize the years you have left with him. Because here's one thing Myles Garrett gives you with that defense is he's the main piece of the driving force of that defense. It's been pretty good, right? And that defense helps you win a lot of games when your offense is struggling. Like, the Browns' offense under Kevin Stefanski had some good moments, but there was a lot of moments where it was, inconsistent or not that good. But there was a lot of games where the defense kept you in it and gave you a shot to win. And sometimes you did pull off some, ugly wins. Like you go back to the game against Pittsburgh this year, they won. I think it was 13-9. The defense was dominant that game. And you've seen the offense the last 2 years at time obviously wasn't great. It was one of the worst in the league, if not the worst. And the defense. So a lot of the games they won was because of the defense. So I think. But Myles is obviously a big catalyst of that. And I think that you got to hold on to that card because if you want to turn it around and build a culture, be competitive, you have to have you got to have people in the building that have been here and are culture changers like Myles Garrett is. I think Myles' presence, just his dominance on the field, impacts anywhere you put him in any organization. He changes that organization. He takes it to another level because of who he is. on the field. And then, I think you got to you want to win as quickly as you can. You can't just keep kicking the can down the road every year because I get the people that say, well, you want to trade and fill out your roster and blah, 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 blah. But you're not going to find, you're never going to get a pass rusher like that. At least not the next 3 to 5 years. I don't see one coming down like that. I look at all the high school, all the recruiting rate. There's not a pass rusher like Myles Garrett coming the next 3 years at least. So you're not going to find that guy. And then also, A, that's that. But B, you need to figure out how to develop the quarterback first before you make any move, because you can make all these moves all you want, but if you don't find the quarterback and finally develop it, it doesn't mean anything. We've seen that in Cleveland over and over again. And then also it's like, I just feel like if the mindset of let's try to get as many picks and Operation Stockpile and keep kicking the can down the road, it's like, I don't think you're just wasting more years. I think it's not a good mindset. It's not a good culture to set. I think the best teams, the Rams, they went all in 2020. They gave up a ton of assets for the win that Super Bowl. They turned it around very quickly. They went in full go mode again, even in their rebuild. A short rebuild they had after that, they were still very aggressive and how can we win as quickly as possible? And look where they are now. They're back to a team that could be in contention next year. You know what I mean? So you have to have that every single year. I think that mindset of how can we quickly get to becoming a winner as soon as possible, because no player wants, even these, you just drafted Quinshon, you just drafted Harold Finn. You don't want these guys to get that rotted mentality like we had with previous, youth movement. I'm going to say young cores we've had, where they were just, subjected to that kind of losing and just accepting that every year. I think that's just a terrible culture to set. I don't think that's why if that was the case, you would just kept Kevin Stefanski. So, like, you brought in Todd Monken to change and establish a culture of winning, and we want to win now and quickly as we can. Doesn't mean we're going to win the Super Bowl next year. We know we're realistic there, but you got to get to that as soon as you can. And I don't think there's any trade that's going to get you there quicker for Myles Garrett. They're just not. So you might as well keep him and move forward there. At least that's how I say. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because it really is a non-story. But shout out, man, Humble. He said, "Hey everyone, drop a comment and we'll read them sooner than later." Welcome in, everyone. Absolutely, Humble's gonna be joining us here shortly. So shout out to the Humble man. Moving on, this article here by Zach Jackson I thought was interesting. So he goes on about the draft now. And this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the show. Why I put in the title, how the 2026 draft will determine the Cleveland Browns' future at quarterback. And it says about the draft, it's clear that the Browns' best and likely preferred option is to trade down from either number 6 or number 24 in hopes of adding at least one additional second-day pick in either 2026 or 2027. It's unlikely Cleveland would be able to find a deal in which it would acquire an extra 2027 first-rounder. So obviously, that's been a lot of the rumor with Jimmy Haslam is Arch Manning in 2027. And so he doesn't believe there's a deal out there they can get that extra 2027 like they did last year. Remember when they traded with Jacksonville? Everybody thought they were going to take Travis Hunter. And number 2, he was the Shohei Ohtani of the draft, they said. And they traded down from 2 to 5 and got an additional first this year, which is 24. And I think they were hoping last year that Arch was coming out this year, if I'm being honest. But I think Haslam was at least. But, will they try to do that again? Because I think they're trying to find that guy. And if Haslam's hell-bent on Arch Manning, if he thinks Arch is going to be the guy because of his connection with the Manning family, would he try to get tell Andrew Berry, give me an additional 2027 first-round pick so we have ammunition or maybe in a high second? Now, at number 6 in this year's draft, see, last year Travis Hunter was viewed as that prospect at 2. I know this rookie year didn't go as planned. He got injured and stuff. I still think he has a chance to still be a hell of a player in this league and will be that kind of guy once he's healthy. But at number 6, there's not that kind of guy there, I believe, that I don't know. I mean, Caleb Downs has that kind of talent, but I don't think at number 6 he's going to draw that kind of interest in a trade. So I get what Zach Jackson's saying. Like, I don't know if you can pull that off again this year. I think they're going to try like hell, but it's going to be hard. I think, Haslam wants that reassurance next year just in case Shador's not the guy, or they believe he's not their guy. But I found the rest of this article. This is where I think it's really interesting. Why I put in the title what I wrote. And let me tell you why after I read this. If the Browns can't find a trade down partner, I think they'll take Ohio State receiver Carnell Tate at number 6. If the Browns think an offensive lineman is the best player at number 6, but isn't a natural left tackle, they'll take him and figure things out as it goes. So that's talking about Francis Malinoga, who I believe is the best offensive lineman overall in this draft. He's the right tackle out of Miami. I think he's the best offensive lineman, period. I think him and the Penn State guy is number 2. And then I probably would go Monroe Freely number 3. Now, Monroe Freeland's he's the most natural left tackle in this draft. I think him and I think Lamu, I believe. But Freeland's the most natural left tackle in this draft. Now, if they want to go best player available, maybe you go Francis Malinoga at number 6. Or maybe if you want that receiver, if you think Carnell Tate is that guy at 6, which Zach Jackson believes Carnell Tate's going to be the pick at 6 right now, maybe you take Carnell. Some people think Carnell might slip out of the top 10. I know Tony Grossi had Francis Malinoga going today. There's a lot of buzz there with him and the Browns. I think the Browns have actually spent some extensive time with him during their pre-draft process. So, it's going to be very fascinating to do it at number 6. But I found this next part of the article to be very interesting. And this is why I wrote what I wrote today. For now, the Browns will more likely be in the business of selecting a mid-round quarterback project than they would be in taking Alabama's Ty Simpson in the first round. Now, obviously, Ty Simpson has connections with Todd Monken. Him and his father are very close. Ty Simpson's probably the second best quarterback in this class. I think he's number 1 in this class. I actually agree with Dan Orlovsky. I like Ty Simpson upside a little higher than Mendoza. I like Mendoza, but I like Ty Simpson a lot. But he's obviously the second half of the year, he was injured. He lost I think 20, 30 pounds. He was eating only chicken noodle soup at one point in his diet. So, he didn't play as well in the second half of the season as people want him to. The first half of the season, he looked phenomenal. Probably the best quarterback in college football. And then the second half, he kind of fell with the injury and he lost the weight. His diet wasn't right. And so people said, well, we don't know about this kid. And it was only 15 games. It wasn't a large sample size. Now I could say the same thing about Mendoza. Mendoza wasn't a large sample size either. He had a great season, but you look at Mendoza at Cal, the Mendoza at Cal was a different guy. It wasn't the same guy we saw last year. And that guy is definitely not a number overall pick at Cal. So I think Mendoza and Simpson be actually kind of, in my opinion, are kind of the same in some areas. Like, there's not a large sample size on either. I don't think either are some slam dunk. But Ty Simpson, I think I like his upside. I like how his game will translate to the NFL. I think I just like what I saw on the tape, especially in the first half of the year. Now that's why his name comes up, because he's the second best quarterback. He'll be the second one on the board in this class overall. That's the consensus. But it goes on. It says, but let's see if they can trade out of number 6 and add at least one more premium pick in either 2026 or 2027 before we go too far down the draft forecasting road. And so obviously before that, he said he doesn't believe they will take Ty Simpson in the first round. But he said, but let's see if they can trade out at number 6 and add at least one more premium pick in 26 or 27 before we go too far down the draft forecasting road. And so I found this very fascinating. And the reason why I found this fascinating is because it almost signals to me that if we can't get the first round pick next year, right, what do we do now? Do we try to get additional first this year? Or do we try to, because he said 2026. I don't know why they would try to get another premium pick in this year's draft. I think would be an additional second. But you're not targeting a quarterback in that scenario. But when he mentions 2027, he mentions Ty Simpson right before that. To me, it kind of sounds like, okay, we can't get a 2027 first round pick to maybe go get Arch or whoever we like in that draft. Do we consider Ty Simpson this year and just take the guy now if we believe he is if he's a guy we believe in? And why are you bringing this up? Because you still have Shedeur Sanders in the building. You were just talking about Deshaun Watson. So where are you going with this? And I just think right now, I kind of view the situation as how I've always viewed it this offseason, which is they like Shedeur. They know what Deshaun was, but mainly with Shedeur, they like Shedeur. I think they like his upside. They believe in Shedeur, but I don't think they believe in him. They believe in him enough to commit to him and act like he's their guy moving forward. And I think they want to kind of redevelop the development with Shedeur, because last year he was with Kevin Stefanski. I think he did grow a little bit being around NFL minds, but it was obviously a unique year overall, having started off the camp with not a lot of reps, only four quarterbacks in the same room, and that whole debacle, how it was mishandled, and they knew Joe Flacco was be the guy all along with some fake competition, right? And then it was just having Dylan Gabriel go ahead of you. You had the guy in the same draft get more reps than you. Then you kind of come at the end of the year. It's bad O-line, bad situation, not great coaching staff. So, it wasn't an ideal situation for a rookie quarterback to develop for and him or Dylan Gabriel for that matter. So, you know, I think they're kind of looking at it as like a clean slate this year for him and Deshaun Watson, and to an extent too, why they're giving him another shot. I think they kind of told you like they believed that Kevin Stefanski just didn't maximize that position like they wanted him to. That's why they brought in Todd Monken. So, I think this is all very fascinating because, I think, like I've said all offseason, I think they like Shador. Again, I think they believe in him, what he could be, but they're not committed to him. And I think that's where they want the flexibility of, hey, we find somebody that we believe is better. Like if Todd Monken says, I like Ty Simpson a lot, I think he could be my guy. All right, but Jimmy Haslam sitting there talking about, well, I like next year's draft too, but I don't know if we can get that additional 27 pick to maybe make it happen because they have said they want to win more games than last year, which they have to culturalize. You can't just come out and just tank a year like I pointed out earlier. It's bad culture. Why you wouldn't want to trade Myles Garrett? Because if that is the case, then trading Myles Garrett does make sense in that case. If you're just tanking next year, might as well just trade him, get as many assets as possible. I don't think that's what they want to do, and I don't think that's what they should do. You've had 2 shit seasons in a row. It's time to get back to restoring some stability. You have to. You can't just keep going on and losing every year. It's not good. So, and that should be the goal. And so, again, you're trying to build a culture. You're trying to get back to some relevancy. Maybe make a playoff push if you get competitive maybe mid-season where you're 500. Maybe you can make a run. Who knows? You never know. Division I think next year is a little more open than any other year. So, I mean, Baltimore, yeah, on paper they still have talent. They have Lamar, but new coach, we know what that's going to look like. John Harbaugh's not there anymore. Cincinnati, every year you think it's their year and they get hurt or they can't protect Joe Burrow. The defense stinks, so I wouldn't bank on them. And in Pittsburgh, I don't know who their starting quarterback's going to be right now. And they have, and they're just kind of, in a new situation too. Obviously, Mike Tomlin's not there anymore. So what are they going to look like? There's a lot of what ifs in the AFC North, which to me, when you have that many what ifs and the stability is not what it used to be, because what drove Pittsburgh and Baltimore every year to be everyone's one or two pick for the winner was the coaches and the culture. Franchises are the same, but the coaches drive a lot of that. 75% of that. They're not there anymore. So I don't know. They're not just pencil in, automatic wins anymore, And so I think, the AFC North's wide open. And I think the Browns kind of view it next year as like, next year we can really do something surprise. We can surprise people and get some momentum rolling. Right. And so I think that's kind of how I view it right now. But I think this draft will determine what they do with the future. Because they have to, and really, I don't think they're going to get that additional first round pick next year. So I think you can rule out Arch Manning to Cleveland, and that's if Arch, number one, Arch has to be that guy, or if it's Dante Moore, whoever next year. I don't know if they're taking a quarterback next year. So I think they could next year, but I don't know if they'll get the one they want. If they finish where I think they could finish, which is kind of like at least a little better than last year, which they'll be out of contention to get that because there's going to be teams worse than them, I believe. So now that leaves you with Shador Sanders and Ty Simpson. That's what they got to decide. I think that's might be what they're deciding. Which one do we believe is better for our future? Which one do we want to move forward with? And I think that's kind of what he's signaling here. Like if they don't get that first round pick next year, right? Because I think if they're hoping they can get the first round pick next year, I think is what they would like above all of it. Because it's like, okay, we could just roll out Shador next year, see what he is. If we don't like it, we got insurance. We have ammunition to move up next year to get the guy we want. But if you don't get that, you have to kind of look at it as like, do we want to pass on Ty Simpson and roll the dice with Shador? That's what they got to decide. And I think that's where they are right now. And so I think it's all very fascinating. That's why I believe this draft will determine the Browns' future quarterback because it's how's this all going to shake out? Will they get the first round pick in the future? Will they, if they don't get it, will they choose Ty Simpson over Shador? Because obviously Ty Simpson has a lot of connections with Todd Monken. Todd's he's not tied to anybody here in Cleveland. So it's kind of he wants to come in and do what he wants to do, or they just roll Shador and maybe Shador's the guy they roll out with. And maybe Shador's the guy that they move forward with, because I think if they don't get the 27 pick for next year, a high second or another first, and Shador's the guy, and they don't take Ty Simpson, I think Shador has a clear shot to be the franchise guy for next year and maybe the year after and maybe beyond, because it's gonna be hard for them to get another quarterback that they would want, because it just I just because of all the reasons I pointed out. So very fascinating. Now Pete Prisco in his mock draft today, he had the Browns taking Ty Simpson at 24. So fascinating. He had Monroe Freeland going to them at 6. So there is still some Ty Simpson smoke out there. I'm not one of those people that just ruled out Ty Simpson. I think there's definitely something there. You know, I know they didn't go to his pro day and all that, but I'm sure they met with him at the combine. I think they've held him in. I think they had him up at the Berea. They can get their research done. They want to get done. So not his combine. They didn't go to his pro day, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it's kind of up in the air right now what they want to do. And who knows? The Browns may make it a plan on the go. Well, it's Cleveland. I mean, we don't know. So fascinating stuff here, but I want to get somebody else's more input on this. He's been waiting patiently in the back. I didn't mean to go that long, but there's a lot to break down there. I put in a title like that. I got to break it down for you guys why I say what I say. But joining me now is the man, the myth, the legend, the professional fan. He's back, Sir Michael Antonace. Mike, what's happening?
Hello.
Mike is in the building. He is back.
I am back from outer space. I went on Artemis 2. I circled the moon, didn't decide to land on it, came right back to Earth, didn't even make headline news. Now I'm back. I got a couple of lunar aliens with me, and we're all doing draft studies.
All right. So Mike's he's been busy. Mike, I broke down why I put my title, how I think this draft will determine the Browns' future quarterback. I thought Zach Jackson's article today, especially that last part there about the 26, or this part right here about possibly which pick, next year, Ty Simpson, the whole thing. I guess I'll give you the floor, man. What's your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, you put it together really well. I think that as regards to this year, that it's going to be really hard for them to get proper compensation from trading down like they did last year, like you were saying. Do they have the ability to trade down a couple of picks and maybe acquire an additional second for this draft? Yes. Do I think that there's a prospect feasibly at 6 that someone would give them another 1 to trade up to? No. So they really do got to do some soul searching between Shador Sanders and Ty Simpson. I'm not even going to get into Deshaun Watson because I think that's all just smoke. They're trying to trade him for a late round pick. That's my thought process. But it's really going to come down to Ty and Shador. And I think in their heart of hearts, they want Shador to be the guy, because at the end of the day, you'll be paying a 5th round salary for the next 3 years over a 1st round salary. And that does matter for getting free agent talent if you think you have a more open window. That being said, though, if they definitely don't think Shador can build on it and become a franchise quarterback, they have to highly consider taking Ty Simpson with that 24th pick. I don't foresee another team taking him before us. The only team I would maybe put them up on trading for him would be or I'm trading up to get him, or even drafting him would be Pittsburgh, but I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh drafts after us, even after the well, no, I mean, they picked before the Jacksonville pick. That's the only other team I could see taking a swing on Ty Simpson. I don't know how Mike McCarthy thinks about him, but I would, if I was Andrew Berry and I'm sitting down in my cubicle, I'm legitimately considering Ty Simpson. I like Ty Simpson a lot. Like you said, he was hurt the whole second half of the season, but before that, he looked like the best quarterback prospect in college. Not just coming out of the draft. He looked like the best quarterback prospect in college over guys like Dante Moore, Arch Manning, Lenoir Sellers, guys that are coming out next year. And I think it would be kind of, remiss if the Browns didn't at least explore that option. I know they've met with him. I know they've talked with him a couple times, met with him at the combine. I like what Ty Simpson has, but I also like Shedeur and what he brings to the table too. It's just a matter of, can Shedeur build on it? Can he do better in Todd Monken's offense? And I would agree with Zach Jackson. I think Carnell Tate is a safe assumption for the 6th pick right now, either him or Monroe Freeling. But this is either going to be a draft where you pick your quarterback in Ty Simpson, or you're rolling with Shedeur and you just give him the Jalen Hurts treatment. Can he be? Maybe Shedeur will never be a top 5 quarterback or even top 10, but can he be Jalen Hurts? Can he succeed when everything is right around him? Maybe Andrew Berry, Howie Roseman byproduct, kind of sees the similarities and is like, you know what? I think if I get Shedeur a receiver, I got him a tight end. If I can get him an offensive line, a solid run game, and just have this insane defense, I don't need like an insane quarterback. I can win with Shedeur. I can win a championship with Shedeur. I think that's the way that the Browns will have to kind of attack it. Like, okay, we can't get a guy in 27. Is Ty Simpson going to raise the bar that much? Whereas he'll be a top 10 quarterback. And if not, do we think Shedeur can be that? Or do we think Shedeur can maybe be a Jalen Hurts and succeed with a successful team around him? No shade on Jalen Hurts. He's a great player, but he's not. I don't think there's a single person, Eagles fan or otherwise, that would say, is Jalen Hurts top 5, top 10 quarterback? So.
It's interesting because it's like, I'm really curious, like, how do you decipher between Shedeur and Ty Simpson? Because in my opinion, they're, it's like Ty, not a big sample size in college, but he looked really good when he was healthy, especially. And then Shedeur, you like some of those tangibles you saw and some of the flashes. You knew what he was in college, but it's like, how do they feel about him? But they also have more access to him because he's in the building. You know what I mean? They had a whole year with him. And now Todd Munkin's got probably getting more insight on him and being around him and stuff. So it's like very fascinating. But he also has insight on Ty Simpson too, because of how he his connection with the family. So I think ultimately, Mike, I think when Jimmy Hausman says this is a Todd Munkin decision, I think it's going to be a Todd Munkin decision.
I think he was being 110% honest for once, Jimmy.
Because I think Jimmy's his only way he would meddle in is if I get that 20, unless they get a 2027 pick next year to help them get Arch, let's be honest, who he wants. We all know who he wants. Unless he gets that, he's staying out of it. And I think he's letting Todd make that call this year, like you said.
Right. And I just don't foresee them. There's not enough blue chips in this draft at premium position for a team
like you did last year.
Right. There's not a guy like that. I mean, here, Caleb Downs will probably be there at 6, and I would say he's blue chip as hell, but unfortunately, he doesn't play what would be considered a premium position in the NFL. Premium position is going to be defensive end, left tackle, quarterback, and receiver, or like unicorn, like Travis Hunter. But yeah, I don't foresee them getting another first round pick for next year. I do still think they'll explore a trade down. Just because, if the Cowboys want a Caleb Downs, maybe they'll give up a second to make sure they get him. Maybe we move down to 10 and we take whatever receivers there. I think they would do that just to get another second and continue to build the team around a young quarterback. And then kind of decide.
That's the thing too, because if they get an additional 26 premium pick, right? I think that might signal they're trying to move up. If they feel like another team's going after Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't know what other position you're trying to get, unless you're trying to get a higher premium at a different position. Maybe if they took Caleb Downs at 6, you know what I mean? And traded down, or maybe, I don't know. Well, no, because you would trade down in that scenario. So not even that scenario. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you're trading down and you're trying to get another premium pick in this draft, it's almost like you're trying to target a quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right.
What do you think?
That, or they're trying to, not necessarily. I mean, there's still so many holes on offense that I mean, there is an argument to be made that, they could be looking to trade up for the Ty Simpson, or they could just be like, hey, we have a lot of needs on offense. We put a bunch of money into the O-line in free agency, but there's still
trying to
things
get
we
as
have
many
to.
premium players as possible.
Yeah, but they're still trying to, build around. And also, I mean, here they can't just. I've said on multiple occasions in past episodes that, like, I don't care if the Browns don't spend a single pick on defense. While that's still true, I also think they're going to draft somebody on the defensive side of the ball, and getting another second round pick where maybe they can get like D'Angelo Pons or like a solid corner in the second round to lock down the slot corner position, like for the foreseeable future. I think they would rather do that and just fill out the team more, is what I think they're going to be going for. If they trade down, is just building up the team. Like, okay, we can spend the first 3 picks on offense. We have an extra second, and we can lock down a position that, for whatever reason, we've had like 10 different dudes play in the past 3 years. And D'Angelo Pons out of Indiana, I think, is excellent. I think he would be
he's great.
Long-term starter at the slot corner position, and he's big like that, so he can kind of work in as a linebacker if you needed him to. But I think that's what they would do, or maybe they go get another guard or Parker Brailsford, who I think will be there in the second round, who's one of the better center prospects I've seen in a long time. They have so many options if they trade down, but I don't think it would be to trade up again. I think it would be to just build out the team more with higher end talent. At least that's what I think.
And that's what's fascinating about all this is there's really not a clear cut pick.
No, there really isn't.
And there's not a clear cut direction of what they're going to do because Tony Grossi's covered I know people don't like people, whatever, but one thing Tony he's been connected for a long time, and he has one direction. Zach Jackson has had pretty good connection with the Browns, obviously, and he has a different direction he's displaying on his mock draft. He's got Carnell, the other one's got Francis Malinois. So it's like, there's a lot of different opinions right now, even from prominent or people that are usually pretty plugged in the, I'm not talking about their opinions. I know people are always talking about people, well, I don't agree with what they say. I'm talking about when they report something, these people are getting information from the team. Let's just be honest. Yeah. We all know what it is. Like, they're not telling you something that's just not, they just made up with, they put their fingernail. Like, the team's putting out different signals, and the team uses media to not only draw fan interest and for marketing and stuff and all that, but also because they want to put out bat signals out there to other teams will read it and see it and kind of get an idea of what's going on in Cleveland. What, could we trade with it? What are they thinking? So I think there's not really a clear cut direction right now. And, Mike and I were on the phone earlier talking about that. It's hard to get a grasp of what they're really thinking this year. Last year, I thought it was a lot more easier. You either take Travis at 2 or you trade down and there's a blue chip right there at Mason Graham, which is what they did. Or you had the running back, Ashton Genty. So, last year was a little different. This year, it's a lot. It can go any way. I mean, there's a lot of different direction. I think this draft, Mike, like I pointed out, it's going to determine not only the future of the team offensively, but I think that the future of the team at quarterback, especially because, like, for all the reasons I pointed out. So, and you pointed out as well. I want you to react to this real quick, Mike, because I'm curious your thoughts about the Myles Garrett part. The whole buzz came out a week or two ago, whatever that was. I think 2 weeks ago. I didn't even react to it because I didn't think it was much of anything to react to because they're not trading Myles Garrett. Obviously, you want to break down, Mike. They restructured his deal, why they did, and then also your thoughts on this.
So they restructured his deal because while it long term does it technically in the short term, if you look at it from like, oh, this means it makes it easier to trade him. Technically, it does, but also it gives him more guaranteed money up front. It could be something that they just agreed to prior to Myles even signing the new deal. It could also just mean because it gives the cap hit is so much less year after year after year now. It could mean like, yeah, it didn't do anything for us right now to sign the free agents that we signed, but it means that next year the cap hit's only going to be $15 million, which is half of what it is supposed to be. It gives us more fluidity to sign more free agents next year. So we have that. And then the fact of the matter is, like, Myles Garrett's not going anywhere unless like something like insane happens, and like legitimately what it would take, and I'm not even being hyperbolic a little bit, a team would have to be like, hey, we'll give you all of our picks rounds 1 through 3 for the next 2 years, and then we'll give you another one the third year. That would be probably the only thing where Andrew Berry would maybe consider it, is if like a team gave us their entire draft for the next 2 years. He's not getting traded. Adam Schefter said he's not getting traded. We didn't go over it because, again, it's not news. Like, this happens all the time. There is less smoke about a trade right now than there was when he actually asked for like a trade request. Remember that? And even then I said it wasn't happening, and he penned a letter and everything. It's just the fact of the matter. And with the contract the way it is, the cap hit for the Browns, even with this restructure, if they still traded him, it would make it impossible for us to trade him within the first 2 years. Like, now you can trade him a year earlier if you were going to trade him. But like, still, for 2 years, you cannot. It's impossible. You would take an $80 million hit on top of Deshaun Watson's $80 million hit.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, Andrew Berry made a trade for Deshaun Watson where he went all out in that kind of deal, giving up a 1 and a 2 for consecutive years. And, if he made that kind of deal for Deshaun Watson and he believes that Myles Garrett's that kind of player, he's going to want the same in return. So, and I don't think anybody's making that trade. So,
yeah, it would be like, give me your first, second, and third for the next 2 years, and then another one just for good measure.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's doing that trade because they, no. That doesn't make sense. Myles is almost like he's kind of like LeBron in a sense where like LeBron's not, if he leaves LA or if he leaves Cleveland, he's only going to select situations where it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And usually that's by free agency, not trade. So a trade for a player of that caliber is almost always impossible because it's just never gonna pan out the way for either side. And unless you're a bad GM, like unless you're the Dallas Mavericks, we'll trade Luka for, now maybe there's conspiracy, tinfoil hat, like maybe maybe they would promise Cooper Flag. Then it makes sense. But take that out, the trade was not a good trade.
No.
So
that dude got fired so quick afterwards.
Yeah, and they're reselling the team. Mark Cuban's up there saying I would regret selling the team to this people. Like, it's a mess. So now Cooper Flag, great player. I think he's gonna be phenomenal. Like I thought he was gonna be last year. I say he clear cut number 1 last year. Remember, he was talking about these other guys. Like, no. Cooper's the man. But yeah, unless you want to be like them. So we're not gonna spend a lot of time on that. Hey, Mike, it is Mock Draft Monday.
Draft Monday.
It's Mock Draft Monday. So what time it is, Mike. It's time to get to a mock draft. Here we go. Mock Draft Monday. I'm going to do 3 rounds this week on PFF. I've usually been doing just the first 2 rounds, but this week for you guys, I'm going to do 3 rounds. This is my mock draft. Mike's going to have his mock draft on his show, but he'll let me through this one for mine as well. I kind of get my thought processes on it. So, again, no trades. Just if we're just keeping all the picks, right? Who would I take at that position? So let's get to it. So here we go. The Browns have the 6th pick. And right off the bat, we have Francis Malyoga, Caleb Downs, David Bailey's there, Carnell Tate is on the board, Monroe Freeling's there. I'm going to think of who I'm going to take, but Mike, what would be your thought process right here quickly?
For me, I think that I'd be happy with Freeling or Tate, but for me, I think they could find another guy to be a long-term starter at left tackle without reaching for Monroe. I'd take Tate. That's just me. Tate or Downs. I wouldn't be mad with Downs either.
Last week I had Caleb Downs. I'm going to stick with that because I'm going to be honest, I just think Caleb's that blue chip guy. I just think there's not many safeties coming out I think as talented as him. And not only that, he improves your special teams too. You can put him at punt returner. I think he would be a game changer over there. I think he's just that talented. I'm still going to go with Caleb Downs because I think you get a guy of that. If you're staying at 6, you get a premium player and that kind of discount. So, Mike, Jersey says, I do declare.
I do declare.
Can Southern Belle make this pick? Who do we declare?
Oh, my. With the 6th pick in the 2026 NFL draft, my Cleveland Browns select Caleb Downs, Ohio State.
I do declare. Now at 24, and I'm gonna stick with what I put last week, Mike. Omar Cooper Jr.
I like that.
I think
That's
he's a
fair.
great I think to me, Mike, he's like Zay Flowers for what Todd Monken had in Baltimore. I think it's a great fit. So I'm going with Omar. Oh yeah, Southern Bell. Who do we take?
Omar Cooper Jr.
All right. And then Mike, this worked out perfectly again for me again. I'm taking Caleb Lamo, the left tackle, who I think is the second best left tackle in this draft after Monroe Freeland. So I'm fine with that. Southern Bell, who we got?
Caleb Lomu, Utah.
All right. And then with our last pick at 70. So this is kind of, I didn't do the 70th pick last week. So who am I going to take at 70? And wow, I got to be honest with you, Mike. This draft had Ty Simpson going in the 65th in the third round. Oof. I don't see that happening. But
that's not going to happen.
Anyways, so we took a tackle, right? Here's my picks right here. We took Caleb Downs at 6. We took Omar Cooper Jr. at 24. We took a tackle at 39. So we got our left tackle. We got a receiver. We got a blue chip, a premium player there at the 6th pick. You know what I'm going to do, Mike?
What you going to do?
You know, I look at my receiving core right now, right? I got Jerry Jeudy. I got Isaiah Bond. And that's about it. Isaiah Bond's not a full-time starter. He's a nice player. Could take the top off of defense, right? I think he's more of a guy you put in certain packages, you know what I mean, in personnel stuff. And he's a guy you need, you know. Jerry Jeudy, not a number one, but I think, you know, with some better supporting casts around him, I think he can be better and better quarterback play and just, you know, offensive line, the whole thing, you know, different system, mainly with the coach. But, you know, after Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate last year, who was the second best receiving core in college football, Mike, that produced against the top tier teams?
Indiana.
And so I got Elijah Surratt sitting right here. I got Omar Cooper as teammate. I'm taking the duo. Why not keep them together? I know they were great blockers on the perimeter. From what I saw in the games, they were just overall, man, they made some great plays and clutch situations. Those dudes showed up and balled out in the big games, and they produced, and they were a great duo together. So I'm going to take Elijah Surratt, who I think is a sleeper in this draft. I think in the 3rd round, that's a steal. So Southern Bell, who we got?
Elijah Surratt, Indiana.
And that's my mock draft for 3.0.
I'd be happy with that.
So,
wow, you earned a reward.
Yeah, well, I earned an ad. Let me get this out here. Yeah, so how we're going to close it? So they gave me a C for Caleb Downs, but I got straight A's though. I got Omar Cooper. They gave me Lamo an A, or I just right. So I got an A-. This is my highest grade for my mock draft. This is 3.0. So to close out this mock draft, hey, Southern Bell, you want to wrap this up? Why this is a great draft?
Well, it's a great draft because you got a blue chip prospect, you fixed your wide receiver room, and you got a starting tackle.
That's it. That's all you got.
My oh my! I do declare that is a fix right there. You done fixed the piping on the plumbing.
All right. I'm not going to ask about that, but anyway, yeah, I like this draft. But I was a professional fan now. So you like this draft, Mike?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy with that. You know, Caleb Downs is such a unique player that it's like safety is, I mean, we need it, but we don't need it that bad. And he almost seems like kind of a luxury. But I would not be upset if the Browns were like, we're taking Caleb Downs. I'd be all for it. And then drafting for need, but still getting great players, I think is like best case scenario.
What do you think of me going for the Indiana duo? I like that theory.
You know, those guys are both great players, and I think they'll both be solid starters in the NFL. Generally, I'd be like, I don't know. But, I mean, here, it worked out for Cincinnati. No, I'm sorry, not Cincinnati. It worked for the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson guys. Like, teams just will have 2 just solid wide receivers from time to time. So,
well, you know what I like about those guys? They produced at the highest stage. They were big playmakers in the big games, but there was no ego. Right. There's no ego with those guys. There was no ego in that culture. I know what I'm getting: consistency and production every week, and they know how to play alongside each other. I think those two together would make any quarterback better. Just you saw it in college. I mean, Mendoza, as great as he was last year, he really benefited from the structure and culture and system around him.
Right.
Probably more than
I
any
agree.
quarterback, and because at Cal he was just a dude, or not a dude. He was just a guy. He was
Yeah.
okay.
A
Last
jag.
year, yeah, he was a jag. Last year, that you got to give credit to I think more credit to people around him and the coach for what he was able to do. And those two guys, man, they were impressive with all those games. So, and there's no ego there. I think those are two guys that will produce, will be at play at a high level, and you got your duo. And I think those are probably guys that would sign here long term too, just because those are the
Right.
kind of. I mean, they went to Indiana, so
Yeah.
I think they'll be just fine there. But that's what we got this week for Mock Draft 3.0 and all things Browns. We're not gonna take like a break, but the TPF, he's back in the building, and in case you guys don't know, he's got his own show. Mike, you want to break down what the people can expect from you in your comeback to TPF for draft month?
Deep, deep lore draft analysis. We're going to be getting deep into it. The Browns have so many different options um, on what they're going to do. There are a bunch of prospects I like. I'm going to go over some prospects too that I really like that I don't think the Browns will pick. I went over kind of into Carson Schwessinger pretty heavy last year. He was like my favorite prospect. The Browns did end up taking him. I didn't think they would, but he ended up being Defensive Rookie of the Year. So hopefully, if the Browns somehow watch my videos, that they'll listen to my next player that I think we should absolutely grab because they might not regret it.
Stay tuned for that. Let's get right to it. So we're gonna get to the LeBron James topic now. We went a little longer with the Browns topic than we wanted, but that's okay. There was a lot to break down, and we had to break down all the news for you guys. So don't want to keep my guy waiting up here any longer. He's got his own channel now too, so make sure you go subscribe to him. I'll have him break it down here in a minute. But joining us now is the man himself, Illyria's finest. Humble Man's in the building. Humble, what's happening?
What's going on, fellas? Glad to be back. Nice Monday morning. Hope everyone's having a safe Monday and productive Monday as well.
And they can go subscribe to you, Humble. You want to break that down real quick? Here's the
at Humble Man MMA. This weekend's gonna be a stacked card from freaking prelims to the early prelims to the main card. I mean, you got Vicente Luque on there, Kevin Gastelum. You got little Bellator action with Aaron Pico's return against Pitbull. Kevin Holland, Randy Brown's on there. It's gonna be crazy. Not to mention, it's supposed to be 2 title fights, but it's okay. We'll get our 1 title fight for light heavyweight and Yuri Prohaska versus Carlos Alberg. It's gonna be a good one, man. I'm excited.
Well, I'll be looking forward to that. I know you got a lot of things planned for your channel, and so I know myself and Mike and everybody will be there to pull up and support you and help you out.
Absolutely.
And to be great content, all things MMA and obviously UFC, which we all love.
Absolutely.
But gentlemen, let's get to it. What time we have left for this one before we get to our obviously the best part of the show. But LeBron James found himself in the news recently. I mean, he's always in the news, but really, he's really in all over the news right now for what he said he was on a golf channel or a sports channel called Bob Does Sports. And basically LeBron, you see a lot of these YouTube golfers now, they go out and they do like scramble matches and they all golf together. And it's great content. You get to see guys behind the scenes in a more relaxed environment, golfing, talking about all things life. He talked a lot about his career, talked about his sons, being a father. He talked about a lot of things, but the main thing that caught everybody's eye was what he said about the city of Memphis. At age 41, LeBron's not a fan of going to Memphis, going to Milwaukee, he brought up. And then he made some comments. He was asked about this in the follow-up he mentioned the city of Cleveland, it sounded like, or Akron, how he doesn't like going home. So that's obviously we're going to get into mainly. But here's the initial one that again, and there's been a lot of reactions. The mayor of Memphis put out a statement about this. The news was outside the FedEx Forum the other night talking to fans after the game, and fans were calling LeBron, quote, sellout. And one kid said, who cares? He's going to be retired soon. And like, they're taking a big offense to this in Memphis. And there's a lot of people online saying that LeBron maybe is not, I'm not just pointing out what people are saying, that they're criticizing that he's, there's a lot of African-American population in Memphis. And a lot of people are saying that, LeBron's kind of taking a shot at his own people. I mean, there's all kinds of, this stuff's good. It's been crazy. I don't think LeBron even thought it would get this big. Rich Paul even had to comment. But here's the initial comments LeBron made on the Bob Does Sports channel.
Saying at the fucking Hyatt at 41 years old. You think I want to do that shit? Being in Memphis on a fucking random ass Thursday. I'm not like the first guy to even talk about it in the NBA. Like, we all like, you guys have to move. Just go over to Nashville. You got Vanderbilt over there. You got the fucking NASCAR. You got a stadium. Don't they got a hockey team too?
Yeah, Predators.
Yeah.
Like, they got everything.
Doesn't look like LeBron's going to be on the Grizzlies anytime soon. So Grizzly fans out there.
Yeah, they know. Their only chance was in 2003 if they'd have won the lottery to get me there. And I might have pulled a Eli Manning and not showed up
For the game.
So that was his comments. I'll give my initial reaction. We'll get to the second part of what he said a couple of days later after this came out about the Cleveland side of things. But I'll be honest with you guys. I think LeBron is in a setting here I never thought I'd see him in, number one. I never thought I'd see LeBron on a golf podcast. I never thought I'd see LeBron on a golf podcast, number one, in this type of setting. And so, I think LeBron was trying to just be funny and kind of fit in, make joke. Do I think LeBron was trying to take a shot at the people of Memphis? No, I don't believe he was. I think LeBron was just kind of. I think LeBron's trying to fit in, is what I think LeBron was trying to do. But I think LeBron was trying to make conversation. I think he was probably a little nervous going on this. This is a whole. I've followed LeBron his whole career very closely. We're all from Ohio. Mike and I from Akron, Ohio. So we've all followed this guy very closely. I never thought I'd see this. This was surprising to me. I know he got into golf last year and he was, he's getting into it. I don't know why. Maybe he just wants a different hobby. But I think LeBron's trying to fit into a different sector that he has never been involved with. And I'll be honest, you can look at some of his stuff he's said in the past. I never thought I'd see him involved with, just being honest. So, I think he's trying to fit in. And I think LeBron was trying to just crack a joke that is an easy laugh for a lot of people. Like, how many times we've heard it, people make jokes about Cleveland. It's an instant laugh on anybody outside of Cleveland. And then you can listen to anybody on ESPN Airways. They'll say, oh, it's a mistake by the lake. It's Cleveland. Who wants to go? And they'll automatically start laughing. It happens, especially people from New York. Like, I believe this guy here on the Bob, I think he's from New York. These are all East Coast guys. Joey Colcutt's, he's an East Coast guy. Like, these are all city guys. They look at Cleveland as like, the doormat. That's what they say. So it's always an easy joke. I think they look at Memphis and say, I think LeBron's basically saying at 41 years old, I don't want to be in Memphis anymore. I don't want to be in Milwaukee anymore. I think what LeBron's saying is, I just want to live my life how I want to live it now. I think what LeBron's saying is he's got one more year left, like I've been telling you guys, and that he's halfway retired already. Now, his second comments, that's the bigger one for us, as Cavs fans. But what's your guys' that's my initial take on this. Humble, I'll let you go first. What's your thoughts on this?
I think you're just seeing a little bit of the dad come out of him, right? I think he prioritizes his safety. And how could you blame the man? I mean, he's a very high-profiled man, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, he's a dad, like you said. He's going to retire soon, and that's all I got on it, really.
Mike?
I'll be honest, I talk trash on other cities like that all the time. I don't get flack for it. Yeah, Cincy, Pittsburgh, I do it all the time, man. I talk about how they're awful, just bad places to live, like just barely even a functioning Western city. So, like, here, it's for me, I don't care. Like, it's just dudes talking, you know what I mean? Like, we trash people's cities. It is what it is. I'm sorry if you live there. It's all fun and games. I'm not going to get too much flack for it because I'm not LeBron James, but here, and also the fact that, that's a team you play on the regular. But yeah, no, I mean, here, he was being funny. Everybody talks trash. That's the way it is.
I think the only part I think people in Memphis should be upset about, or I think they could, I think they have a gripe, is when you say move the team. Because that's not just anybody saying move the team. That's LeBron James saying move the team. Now, maybe he was joking, but I think part of it was kind of serious because Nashville's become like the movement in Tennessee, obviously. But in terms of like culture, just a lot of people go there now, like vacation almost. I mean, people move there. I mean, Nashville's become like a growing city rapidly.
Nashville's a great town.
It's a great town, but it's really grown, I think, really taken off since post-COVID. And but I think that's the one part where I can be like, okay, because like if a person came out and said, "Hey, move the Cavs out of Cleveland," people would be pissed. Like, no, that's we need the Cavs. Like, that's part of our economy. Like, in Memphis, especially, Memphis is, I think, the smallest market in the NBA. So they're one of the smallest markets in the country. So they gotta have the Memphis like Memphis is their pride and you enjoy it. And that's a basketball town. Memphis is a hoop city. They like basketball out there, and they got great barbecue, obviously. But and I'm sure Memphis is a cool town. I know people that have been to Memphis said it was pretty cool. It was a lot of like heart and soul, a lot of in terms of the food and just the culture and just down there people, a lot of history there. You know what I mean? So Memphis is a pretty cool town, has a lot of history. I can see where fans are about that. But I think LeBron, I got to give shout out to Jay Crawford on Ultimate Sports Show. I thought he had a hell of a take today on this when he talked about when Michael Jordan came out and said, well, Republicans buy sneakers too. He took a lot of crap for that, right? And it just blew up. But I think Michael Jordan finally, that was the first time, because up until then, Mike was always very clean cut, didn't really tell you a lot of what he thought. That was the one time where he just told you what he really felt. That he, basically saying, why the hell you ask me? I don't really care. Like, everybody buys my shoes. Like, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. He wasn't saying what he was. He just said, like, I'm just selling shoes. Like, don't try to force me into something I don't want to be.
Right.
That's when Michael kind of figured out, and Jay's kind of said this because he was in the media at that time and mainstream. And like, that's kind of when Mike would decide, like, you know what? I can never win with these people. They're always going to, whatever I say, it's going to be blown out of proportion. And that's why he's gone away. And every time Michael Jordan come out and say, and he come out in the news, because whenever he speaks, it's headlines, because he rarely speaks publicly now. So this guy could come out and talk about, man, I just had a cheeseburger and down in Florida. It was the best one I ever had. And people would be going, oh my gosh, I'm sure it'd be headlines. You know what I mean? Michael Jordan come out and say, I took a dump for the second time today. People are like, oh my gosh, you dump better than anybody. I mean, it would be headlines. Like, that's how people are. It's just that crazy. And, I just think that's kind of where LeBron's at now. He's at that stature. He's the face of the league, still at 41. And he's still one of the premier athletes in the world. And I think whatever he says is going to draw headlines. So, I think that's just that's kind of where it's at. It's kind of been blown out of proportion. I think it's kind of similar there. I thought those guys had a good point today. Shout out to Praxis578 says cities like Memphis and Cleveland should be happy that anyone wants to play there, and the Browns should stop punishing Ohio State players by drafting them. They'd rather lose than Phoenix or Miami. You guys got a thought on this?
Phoenix doesn't have an NFL team.
Well, they have the Cardinals.
Well, the Cardinals are like an hour and a half away.
Yeah. I don't think some players don't want to be in the big cities, though. Like, I know a lot of players like Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas is the first ballot Hall of Famer. He was one of the best left tackles there. The guy still lives in Cleveland. He loves being in Cleveland. Like, I just think premier players like LeBron, maybe, yeah, because they're big brands, but those guys don't fall off trees all the time. So,
and I feel like the NFL is more like program based, right? Like, it's
the NFL
more like
different. Like,
it's more like I want to go where people, when, like, for example, Pittsburgh's like this well-known thing. So Baltimore too. And here, no offense to the great people of Baltimore, it's not known for being a tourist destination per se, but it's a great football program. When people get drafted there, people are excited. There. Yeah, same thing with Pittsburgh.
Want to go there. Deion Sanders wanted to go to Baltimore later in his career. Like,
right.
Shannon Sharp went to Baltimore. Like, yeah, you're right. The NFL is different. because I think there's less player empowerment. I think there's more like stability in that area, and I think that's kind of where a lot of that comes in, where it's about culture and fit, and it's just I think more better structured, in my opinion. Where the
Yeah.
NBA has become kind of like the wild wild west. The NBA was really NIL transfer portal before the NFL NIL transfer portal, and that started in 2010 when he came out and made a decision. Pre that was when they went to Boston, that team. But really, when LeBron and them teamed up, that's when it was like player, and then KD took it to a whole nother level. And I think that's where you have these guys now where it's like, well, I don't want to be here. I want to be here. I want to be here. But Donovan Mitchell got traded here. Everybody said he was going to leave, and he re-signed. So Miami wanted him in New York, and he re-signed. Everybody said there was no chance in hell he would. So I think ultimately, even in the NBA to an extent, it comes down to culture and program, like you mentioned. Guys will put up with certain things, and some guys may like that environment better. Yeah, LA is not forever. Like he's talking about, I know a lot of people don't want to go to LA. They don't want to live in LA. I would never want to live in LA for my own obvious. I mean, I don't want to live there. So nice place. I go and visit, but I don't want to live there. But the second part of what LeBron said after this, I thought was fascinating. I wouldn't want to live in New York either. I just thought of that. I want to see grass. You go to New York, I can't cut grass in New York. There ain't no grass in the city. Great city. I like grass. Like I like having my own backyard. I like being out in the country a little more.
Yeah.
It ain't that bad where we live in Ohio.
No, it's not that bad.
No, not that bad at all. But we're all from here. But LeBron was asked about this a couple days later when that video dropped, and he was asked about all the heat he's taking and stuff. Here's what LeBron had to say.
Some people asked about your comments on Memphis while you was golfing. Is there anything you'd want to clarify on that or respond to how people have taken those comments?
What do you mean?
People have been upset about the fact that Memphis was looked at as a team that, a lot of black people in Memphis, right, compared to like Nashville, for example. So people were
like black people?
No, you didn't say that. But there were people who were wondering why Memphis was targeted. Like
Milwaukee was too. Did they miss that one too? I didn't see that.
Not as much commentary on Milwaukee.
I said Milwaukee as well.
Yeah.
41 years old. It's two cities I do not like playing in right now. That's Milwaukee and that's Memphis. What is the problem? I don't like going home either. Shit, and I'm from there. What is people who are ridiculous? I also get mad at my son being on the team too. So what are we talking about?
Okay,
People need to figure out other ways to put their energy to other things that's important. Like seriously, I'm not talking about the city, like the people in Memphis. Like, I don't like staying at the higher center. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Nothing. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? People need to chill out.
People need to chill the hell out, he said.
I agree.
Now,
I mean,
go ahead, Mike. You take it. Now, obviously, the meat and potatoes for Clevelanders on that, Mike, was he said he didn't like. He said I don't want to play at home right now. Obviously, there's a ton of speculation about LeBron coming back in the summer. I've talked about it. Could he want to finish?
I still think that's a possibility. I just think that was a very passing comment, like just trying to put down a fire. Like he said it very blasé, like people need to chill the hell out. He was just using it as example, like like I played there, I'm from there, like I don't even like going home. And maybe he was talking about Akron, like he could be very well talking about Akron, not Cleveland as a city and team. I don't know. Or he could be lumping them both together. As someone from Akron, Ohio, I get the sentiment, like I love my city, but
I mean, the parts he grew up in, I don't think he wants to go back there.
Nah,
and that's okay. But I know people that live in Akron that they're awesome people, and I don't think he's talking about the people. And I know LeBron probably understands more a lot of people about what it's like growing up in that type of environment. But I agree. Here's what I think. I think when he made those comments. Again, he seems frustrated. That he was asked the question. I think that when when LeBron responded to him, did I say I don't like black people? I think that the way that guy said that pissed him off. You could tell he was irritated because he starts. I know LeBron, when he starts doing this, grabbing his beard, he's pissed. Like he's like, "Get me the hell out of here right now." So, you know,
Right.
I think he was irritated by the question. I think he didn't expect it to blow up like it did. You know, and I think when he said the comments about home, because I've had people already text me about this and say, well, what do you make of this? Here's what I think. I think when LeBron says he doesn't like going home and playing there, he's talking about as a Laker, right? He's a Laker right now. Do you guys know what LeBron goes through when he comes home as a Laker? He has to go back to his school, which I don't think he minds doing that. He has to take a visit to the kids all in one day. This is all in one day. Sometimes he has shoot around. He shoots down to Akron. He has to go visit his mom, I'm sure. He has to go back to it. He probably tries to step by his house. When he's done playing the game, he has to get so many tickets for all his family and friends that he has. I think Jason Lloyd, I was watching Altitude Sport. I think Jason Lloyd said, and I've even seen it myself, not even at just in person at other events. This guy has so many friends and liaisons and like, or I'll say, but family and like people that are close to him, part of business at home still. When this guy comes home, it's like a party. They all want to come see him, obviously. You know how many tickets he has to, not that he does, but I mean, they had to make sure all the tickets get dispersed to his family and friends. And I know a lot of them that go to the games. I even know I met a couple myself. They go. And then after the game, Jason Lloyd said he's got like a row of like 80 people he has to like navigate through just to get to the team bus. So coming home's not just coming home to play a game. He's not just coming to Cleveland on a Tuesday night to play a basketball game. He's coming home to visit, and that's stressful to come home and have to walk and see 80 people. All the, all these people, and you got to make sure everybody got a ticket to the game. I got to go here. I got to go there. He understands what it means when he comes back here. He's not stupid. And he always says it's special to come home. So I think that's what he meant. I don't think LeBron. Everybody bitches about the weather. I mean, it's April 5th, 6th, and I wake up this morning, it's snowing outside. Tomorrow it's gonna be fucking 35 degrees. We bitch about the weather. It's right now it's up and down. Thursday it's gonna be 75 and sunny. That'll be nice. I'll be outside doing stuff. But tomorrow it's gonna feel like winter. It drives us crazy. How many people we know in Ohio every year? It's like I'm moving. They just I can't take it anymore. I'm tired of the weather. They don't really move, but well, we get the weather here. We understand. But I don't think, Humble, do these comments make you think that LeBron's not coming back to Cleveland possibly this offseason?
No. I think, like you said, like he's talking as a Laker.
Exactly. So yeah, Mike, I'll ask you that quote. Do you think these comments make you think otherwise, that he's not coming home?
Not at all. Not at all. It was very passing comments. He was at the end. He's like, everybody just needs to chill out. Like, he had some fun on a golf course with some people, like
trying to fit in.
And then he made a very passing comment, like, "Nah, it's a nothing burger."
Yeah, I don't get why it's in blown up proportion the way it has.
LeBron. That's the only reason.
Well, I think people that dislike LeBron, anything he says, they're always going to try to spin it against him. And I don't always agree with everything LeBron says or does. But at the end of the day, here's what I would say. If you're looking for an athlete or any athlete entertainer that really, yes, they're role models in a way where they can help. And I have people, I had athletes I looked up to growing up that helped me, but they're not the reason to change. At the end of the day, they're just jocks. At the end of the day, they're just entertainers. They're just rappers and singers. I don't look to them for a reason to change in my community in terms of like, real life things. Like, there's people more qualified than them to help with those things and really give a difference of opinion and lead those changes in a community. So to me, I think people need to stop looking at athletes and entertainers as much as idols, and as like they're like the reason to change. And whenever stuff goes wrong in society, if something happens in war or whatever, like right now the stuff that's going on, like let's go hear what they got to say. With this stuff going on in the world, with the climate right now, with in our country and stuff, I'm not thinking of what LeBron James thinks about it. Like that's not who all this stuff happened. Like I wonder what LeBron thinks about it. Oh my gosh,
right?
Care what LeBron thinks, and nor should he care what I think, because that's not who I look to in these type of. That's not who I want to hear his opinion about. I want to hear what people in charge have to say, or the people that really make the decisions on it. So that's what are people that actually study it for a living, and that's their job. They're they're political scientists, or not just politics, but just anything you're talking about. Like, like that's like if anything. You know what I mean? Like if I want to learn how to, you know, to start talking about grass. So when I learned how to take care of grass, when I did my landscaping business back in high school, I learned how to do grass. I didn't go trying to find an athlete entertainer that taught me how to read grass. No, I went to ask somebody who actually knew about what the hell they were talking about. You know, that's what they do. That's what they do for a living. That's what they study. They understand it. And that's how you learn. You know, I mean, that should be any way you life. That's not a, you know, I mean, yeah, I get the influence they have, but you know, at the end of the day, they're just athletes. They're just basketball players. It's just a game at the end of the day. It ain't that serious. Like, you know, it's just,
Right.
and I look at a different angle now because I'm around guys, and Mike, you know who I'm talking about. You've been around with me the last year, even at the high school level, guys who are, I mean, we had a guy, number one corner in the country. We had a big phenom right now, guys a known name, like, and just the amount of how adults act around even high school, it just like wanting to know what these people are doing and how people just get so up in the air when they do things or say things or what are they doing next. It's like at the end of the day, it's just a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't look to these, and when you get to know these guys, they're just regular people. A lot of times they're asking you for help with things that they don't know about in life. You know what I mean? So that's how I look. I just think this whole thing's just silly. If I'm being honest, like I think it just kind of shows just where people's priorities are in society, how messed up they are. And, you know, that's how I view it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh no, I mean yeah, it's just a game, and like people always will get wrapped up more into it and make something, make a comment something that's not just because of the status of the person, but it's just a game. There's no ill will.
Yeah. So again, I don't think this impacts his future coming back to Cleveland. Again, Humble and I broke that down the other day, you know, why it makes more sense to come back home and why that door is, why it's been talked about already, why you're going to keep hearing about it as it gets closer to the off season. So yeah, I mean, there's only two places he can do it. He's stay in LA or he's going to come home to Cleveland. That's the only place he can go. He's not going anywhere else. And it makes more sense to me, I think, to come home to Cleveland for one more year for both sides, for the Lakers and the Cavs. We talked about the sign and trade last week with Jared Allen and all that. Go check out that video. And how LeBron, I believe, actually, he can actually make more money in Cleveland than he would in LA with the Lakers re-signing there. So, you know, I think, and now the Lakers are depleted with injuries, unfortunately, and, you know, who knows what that's going to look like. I mean, you know, they've always had injuries out there. How does he, and ultimately what's here, what I'm getting at is, well, how does LeBron want to finish his career? If he wants to just ride out in the sunset and he's content with what he has, cool, stay in LA, whatever. If he wants to go out with a bang, like a last dance type thing, which I think he does want to do, because, you know, he is, I think how you walk out, how your last image just says a lot. I think that's kind of how you're remembered. I mean, he's remembered as a great player, but I think he wants that. He has an opportunity to do something even more greater, I think. And I think that's why the Cavs are going to be in play. So, yeah. But we can break that down a whole nother day. That's a whole nother conversation. But we've already had. But we're going to get to a real life discussion here next after this short break. So we come back. Humble's going to start it off. He's sent me a great quote today that we're going to react to, all three of us. Mike's going to stay in for that. And don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's interesting to me. God really did have that plan for me throughout this entire time. Mm-hmm. It was simply just up to me when I was able to stop playing God. I thought I was the one making things happen. No, God is in control. A saying my dad used to always say was, you know, man plans while God laughs. I had a plan for my life. Like, I was going to be, I'm talking about from as soon as I can remember my first thought, I'm going to be in the NFL. I'm going to be, you know, a quarterback. Right. I'm going to, my life was made.
I'm going to have all this money. I'm going to get any girl I want. I'm going to have all these cars. Yeah, it's going to be good.
I'm talking Beyonce is going to be like, hey, what are you doing today? Then Rihanna tomorrow. Like, it was this plan I had for my life. And as I got older, obviously the plans got smaller, but I still continue to plan. Something that I do now, and I would recommend everybody doing, every single night when I pray, what I used to do was say, God, you know, allow me to pass this test. God, allow me to, you know, meet this girl. God allow, this date to go well, this day to go well. When I go to sleep every single night, what I pray for is for God's will to be done. Because He obviously knows what He's doing. I don't. Because if I knew what I was doing, I would be, I wouldn't be talking about Baker on the Browns. I'd be on the Browns right now. If I knew if I followed my plan, Beyonce would be hitting me up. She hasn't hit me up. I must have missed that call or something.
She don't want some bake.
Right? She doesn't want the AMP producer. She has a billionaire husband or something. It's interesting to me. God really did have that plan for me throughout this entire time. It was simply just up to me when I was able to stop playing God. I thought I was the one making things happen. No, God is in control. From the moment I wake up, God is in control. So
all right, welcome back. Move on to our last segment of the show. Humble, I'll let you take it away, brother. You sent me this today. It says the past is never there when you try to go back. It exists, but only in memory. To pretend otherwise is to invite a mess. I want to share, and Mike and I will gather our thoughts on this. Break this down and why this really stood out to you.
Yeah, man. Because when I look at this picture, I view it as a reminder that life doesn't freeze for anybody. Some chapters were meant to shape you and not really stay with you. And I feel as if, especially for my life, people change, you change, the emotion changes, circumstances changes, and sometimes even your memory changes the story. And for that, I say, that's why I think when people say, I just want things to be the way they used to be, they're not really chasing reality. They're chasing a feeling. The truth is, I feel as if most people don't actually miss the past itself. They miss the feeling they had while living in it. And the only place is still I'm sorry, I just had someone get into the car, so it's just I don't want anything to be loud.
Oh, you're good.
I'm just trying to focus in on my thoughts.
Well, no, you were talking about people chase the feeling from the past.
Yeah.
Mike, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I like the quote. It's basically classic adage, don't dwell on the past. It's extended of that, but I it's good to learn from the past, but not dwell on it. Classic, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I've hoped to learn from those mistakes and continue to get better every day, 1% better every day. Or like if you want to even go to like a big thing in my life, I lost my father when I was 21, and even today, like if the day strikes me, I'll be like, oh, what could I have done different? If I would have seen A, B, and C signs, maybe I could have helped, maybe I could have changed things, but that doesn't do you any good. For those who have lost a loved one or been through just ordeals, you can't change what's already happened. You can only like improve and fix things in the present, continue to get better every day. And it's a really good quote. It's a really good thing to always be reminded of, because human nature is always to think about like that kind of stuff. And again, there's nothing wrong with like going back and going back through memories or even learning from past mistakes, but to dwell on it, that's when it starts to get problematic. I mean, hell, I sell cars for a living. After a customer leaves and they don't buy something, I'm thinking of, oh, what could I have what could I have said? Like, that's the first thing I do as soon as they walk out the door. It's like, oh, what did I do wrong? What could I have said differently? can't do that. Just gotta move on to the next one, get a little bit better.
Humble, I thought you made a hell of a point. It says, and you said, and I wrote it down immediately. It says, chasing the feeling while living in it. A lot of that, there was a past feeling. A lot of times people are chasing because they loved how they felt while they were living in it. And I feel like that's when I think of that, Mike. I think of like somebody with addiction, right? How a lot of times what causes people to move away from things that are negative in their life, that they're addicted to, that are really they only harm them in the end. You know what I mean? They don't benefit them. It's like you get a temporary relief. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of times it's like because at the end it's just to pretend otherwise is to invite a mess. And I think if you're somebody who doesn't have goals in your life, doesn't have new things you're chasing in your life, you're constantly projecting the past into the future. And I think you'll constantly be looking to the past to satisfy you in the moment. And I think that's kind of what I like. I thought when Humble maybe said that, made me think of that. Like, because if you're somebody that deals with anxiety, like you and I have talked about, Mike, on a deep level on this show for many years, there's certain habits and things and thought patterns you have to get away from that aren't for you. But a lot of times it's out of your comfort zone. You think it's safe. You know what I mean? You feel like your safety is at risk if you don't. Because like with anxiety, for instance, or just negative thoughts or people with addictions, it's like they feel like it's their coping mechanism. They feel like they're safe, they can release, they can let go and feel normal. And they're trying to escape whatever it is they're fearful of or what they're trying to avoid that makes them down from the past. And I think that's kind of like what I get out of this is like, if I constantly have the same thought patterns I had, Mike, when we even started the show 4 years ago, I wouldn't be able to do the things I do now freely. I wouldn't have my life back to where it is now. I wouldn't be beyond all that. You know what I mean? So, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now, selling cards again. You know what I mean? You were at that, remember 3 years ago, you went there a little spout. You know what I mean? And so you had to get away from those patterns that made you. Now, it was hard because why? And why is it hard? Because you feel like your safety mechanism tells you to stay there because you feel like it's kept you alive. It's kept you, or whatever it is. It's helped you avoid what it is you don't want to confront, or what it is you want to forget about, or maybe something traumatic happened to you. You're trying to constantly just act like it didn't happen, or never really settle with it and really accept it and move beyond it. Because if you try to constantly cope and constantly put things on the back burner your whole life, that it really impacted you, I think eventually does catch up to you. It really does, and it can really, and you may not, it could be affecting your life now without you even knowing it. There's just some of your daily habits or things that are really negative in your life that are you think are good for you but really aren't. They're limiting your potential. They're limiting you as a human being from being who God called you to be. They're keeping you in that cycle. And so obviously I talk a lot about the mental side of things. We've talked about that, but so I look at it from that. If I constantly project what happened to me 5 years ago into, like 5 years ago, like something I'll share something now I still struggle with. Like I had one of the rough times in that period I ever had was in the summer of 21 for many reasons I pointed out in the show. Ultimately it was good in the end because it led me. God turned it for good because He led me to where I needed to be to ultimately become who I became now. It was a hard stepping stone to go through, but that was just a part of my life. That was a temporary part of my life. It's never going to happen again, and that's something I had to teach. I had to tell myself even now at times, like just because that happened back then doesn't mean it's going to happen again in the future, because God allows certain things at certain times. But I know the why that happened back then. I know why God allowed it. I know where He led me to. Me going back to that ever again is not going to happen, because it's never going to happen. I remember, one of my life coaches even told me that. He goes, Joe, it's not going to happen. You're never going to go back to where you were. You've overcome. Right. That was the time, and that was necessary back then for that part of time in your life. It's over with now. You're not the same person anymore. And I think that's what you have to really realize, like, when you go through a conversion with Christ, or when you surrender your life to Him, and when you really move away from all these things, you have to believe in that you're not the same person. That change is real, and you are an example of that. And you have to tell yourself that every single day. You have to live that out in everything you do. And so I know I kind of rambled a bit here, but that's kind of what I take from all this. It's just like anything negative you've overcome in your life through, anxiety, fear, addiction, whatever it is. Like Humble said, the feeling, you know what I mean? That, that feeling could be with, maybe you were in a relationship that you knew wasn't good for you, but maybe you had a feeling with her in certain moments and temporarily, you was a satisfaction with you internally, but you knew she wasn't good for you, right? But you constantly go back to that same type of girl or that same girl is not good for you because you just can't escape the feeling. But I think that's a lot of times too, right? Or maybe she moved on to some other guy, and but you stay stuck and you just start to settle and you start to go downhill because I think you have to confront those feelings and those emotions. And I think the key, I think, here with this is to not go back to the past, to invite a mess where something takes you downhill, or it's something or someone, like I was just talking about, that leads you down to a part of you that's not a good party, not a good place for you, that's not healthy for you, is to just confront it head on and to seek treatment if you need it. It's okay to see a counselor. We've all, I mean, Mike and I, what do I have a problem talking about? We've all seen, him and I have seen counselors.
Yeah.
We all need
Seen
help.
counselors, taking medication, and as someone with anxiety, like my wife will be the first to tell you that, I was so horrified of taking medication because, the first thing is people with anxiety, you jump to side effects, you jump to this, you jump to that. Oh, like, what if I die?
Yeah.
It's instantaneously what it goes to. And, that was a big leap of faith for me. And it did wonders for me. And I eventually, my psychiatrist said that, okay, well, everything's good. You can wean yourself off. And that's what I did.
It was a temporary fix for a permanent solution,
Yeah, exactly. And here, counseling, medication,
and we're
like,
not,
it's
disclaimer, we're
never,
not medical doctors.
we're not doctors. This is just,
what worked for him.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. What worked for me and won't necessarily work for you. Some people can just do it with, CBT counseling or venting or, even just, there are support groups or YouTube channels. There's a million things you can do that are treatment ways that might not necessarily be traditional counseling. I know a lot of people that go to it's a group a group session where it's like 4 or 5 people that just telling about their struggles with anxiety, and that it helps you feel not alone, which anxiety makes you feel. But yeah, seek. If you need help, seek help. There's no shame in it. There's no embarrassment in it. It doesn't make you weak. Everybody on this earth goes through something. That's just the nature of being human, and it's always okay to ask for help.
100%. And sorry, I mean to clear up, but
No, you're fine.
And Humble, I'll go back to you, brother. I think of this too, and I'll let you ramble on this and let you think about it a little more. But Humble, I think about it too. Like it's better to if you got to realize the negative things in your life, be honest with yourself about it, and admit them to yourself first. And I think once you realize that, then you really set yourself free from a lot of things and you avoid those messes. But Humble, you still there, brother? Is Humble in the building?
I
We might have lost Humble.
I think we have lost him.
Yeah, we lost him. But that's all right. I think Humble got a little busy for him, but that's okay. Oh no, he's back. Here he is. Okay. You there, Humble?
Yeah.
All right. You got the floor, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I was just trying to think about it, and it's just like, sometimes old relationships don't work, even when you want to revisit them, and old friendships feel different, and old hometowns don't feel like they felt when you were younger, and even our old dreams can feel empty when you finally feel like you should go back to them. Because I know I feel like that with music. My buddies always telling me, because I used to produce music and all that stuff. And I was always harass me like, when are you gonna do music again, man? I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that stuff. That doesn't make me money. That doesn't do nothing for me. What does that do for me? They're like, well, if you keep going with it, you know what I mean? And I was just like, no, man, you know what I mean? And that's how I felt with the dreams, just thinking about that stuff. And sometimes it's okay to not think about that stuff because that's just a feeling that you had one time, and you don't have to always go back to that stuff, because that doesn't always have to be your end goal. Because I always think like there's a guy that said, I don't know who it was, but who are you outside of what you're good at? You know what I mean? Can you recreate yourself outside of what you're known for? You know what I mean? That's always what I think is really impactful, is like, hey, like, yeah, I'm good at this, but what if I step outside of this and, you know what I mean, uh find a whole different way of living, or find a new version of myself. You know, you should always feel like you could step outside of the fire, and or step into the fire, I should say, and see what's out there.
Good stuff there. Yeah, again, I like what you said about people a lot of times you're chasing a feeling that you had while you were living in that moment of your life. But I thought that was really powerful because I can relate to that. I know Mike can. And, obviously a lot of mine was more anxiety related and more of a safety mechanism, like I pointed out. But ultimately, it led me into a spiral down to a mess where I kept myself cooped up in the house and cooped up in the same cycle of fear. And, wasn't healthy for me. So, but yeah, please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you, Mike. But yeah, you guys got any final thoughts on this?
Just that the real the real danger is pretending like it's not there, and you know um repeating mistakes and reopening wounds and making bad decisions and emotional setbacks, and thinking that it's there when it's really false hopes. And the pain, you got to always think, the pain's there, but there's always something. What's the one guy say, the front mirror, or the whatever, what is it called, the front mirror is brighter than the back, because what's in front of you is so much importanter. It's true, man. Like, you got to keep going forward, and don't invite the mess uh back into your life, whatever that is, the mess that you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I think that's like I think you gotta. That's where you have to be honest with yourself too first, and then look at the mirror and be honest, like what's good for me, what's not, and make those and do what you got to do to help you better yourself. I think too, like I know I didn't get the analogy you're saying. The one I always heard too, and I think Mike, I told you this before. You can't drive 60 miles an hour down the freeway looking backwards.
Right.
So, you got any
Exactly.
final thoughts on this, Mike?
My final thoughts would be just summarize. Learn from past mistakes, but don't dwell on them. Don't beat yourself up about them. Everybody makes mistakes. The important is to get better every day, whether that be getting better, healing a relationship with a loved one or friend, whether that be getting better at work, getting better in your own mental health journey, emotional journey, what have you. Just get better 1% every day, and also to ask for help if you need it. Seek treatment if you need it. There's nothing prideful. It doesn't hurt your pride doing that. It's not embarrassing to do that. You won't be less of a man or woman. It's if you need help, just seek it.
My final thought would be to add to kind of what you guys said is, if you seek help, whatever you decide to do, whatever you get to that moment where you feel like, you need to do something or move on from certain things or people in your life that aren't good for you. I would say have a plan in place. And part of that, 75% of that plan, I believe, is spiritual. And whether you believe in God or not, that's up to you. That's your free will God gives you. But I would say believe in something, right? Believe in something or you'll fall for anything. And I think a lot of times if you don't have that foundation to help you through your journey, you'll probably end up at some point sliding back to that mess, into those, or pretending that it's not there. And eventually it'll find you again one day down the road where you'll find yourself in constant coping mechanisms to pretend that it wasn't and it's not there, and you keep yourself stuck, and you become a person that probably isn't going to end up being a healthy person, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. If I'm being honest, so I would say definitely have that foundation, and find 3 good people. It's like with the Joey Diaz thing, Humble we played. As long as you got 3 bad dudes in your life, he said, I'm not gonna say like him, but as long as you got 3 bad, you know what, in your life, you can take over a country. Is what he said. And so, I think what he's saying, if you got 3 solid people in your life that believe in you, are there for you, can help you, Humble, you can do anything.
Right.
So, that's what I got on it. But good stuff. That was really fun. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Humble, I'll let you go first. You want to plug your channel one real quick before you get up out of here?
Yeah, guys, if you guys just want to find me at Humble Man MMA, actually try to get something out this weekend, do the whole card breakdown for like an actual video. So that'd be pretty cool if I could do that. And yeah, man, so come over there and come show some love.
Mike, they need to like, subscribe, and share.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, subscribe, and share this content. If you enjoyed it, we love you very much. Thank you for all who commented in, who will comment in on the rewatch, who liked. Thank you to all the old subscribers and new. We're trying to grow this channel every day, every show, every which way possible. So if you could just subscribe, great help to us, helps us get better into the algorithm. So, but thank you much. We love you very much.
Bring it in.
Bring it.
But no, love all you guys. Shout out to Humble. Shout out to Mike. Go subscribe to Humble's channel. He's got some great stuff he's gonna be brewing up over there. Subscribe to this channel for Mike with Professional Fan. He's gonna be cooking all month long, draft month. We got 2.5 weeks of the draft, so he'll be cooking. And yeah, love all you guys. Like, subscribe, shout out good stuff, and we will see the next one. I'm saluting out here. Humble's driving. Mike, what do you do? Are you saluting?
I'm about to jump into the lake, and I'm gonna catch a trout with my bare hands.
Jesus, Mike.
All right. Well, we hope Mike's gonna be available for the next TPF. We'll see you the next one. We're out of here.
Later.